This is another video that I didn't plan, but it just emerges from comments. And I think this is what would be happening if we were actually able to be face-to-face and communicating. We're just doing it over the internet, so it's kind of weird. Anyway, what I want to do is talk to... Dee Dee, you made a comment about, using the information and reading the Bible in a different way and getting something different out of it, but still maintaining a belief in God. Or I don't want to detail what you have going on. That's up to you. And it got me thinking about some pitfalls, but then there's also something. Okay. So I realized that over time I have gradually mentally migrated into a certain way of looking at things without realizing the steps along the way or what I had done. So you're causing me to stop and look at what I'm doing and putting a name to it. And this is right here. This is a very important piece of advice that I have for anybody that's seeking. It took me a while to find this, but in the end, I realize it's like cheating, but it's really helpful for the interpretation process. And I'm going to say that this is going to be especially true when we're using Christianity or the works of Jesus to find this nested teaching, or the works of Moses or elsewhere in the Old Testament. It is so easy to go all over the place, and those religions tend to come with a lot of belief systems with them that we could call them baggage. But essentially what it is that people can have very spiritual connection, some sort of mystical reverence with the material that can prevent them from looking at it in certain ways. I really want to treat the material academically in the same manner that I would treat Lao Tzu or the Buddha or something. I don't want to treat it with a mysterious reverence that I can't do anything with except to admire it. And not just with Christianity, but other material. I can look around. I see one guy very popular doing this kind of Jesus, obviously traveled to Tibet, India, learned, they're making all those connections and that sort of thing, where I look at it and go, the material migrated everywhere. Nobody had to travel. And Jesus and Buddha aren't the only two that did this. It's a much bigger picture. And it's all fun stuff to look at, but there's a lot of times I will listen to people that are talking, and it might be that there's a point where it sounds good, and then towards the end it drifts off into something that is very mystical. That we're products of our beginnings, and that we need to, and all of that sounds good. You're listening going, okay. And then it'll end up with something like, so we need to let our light shine, and do things that you realize at that point, okay, they don't have it. They don't have all the answers. They got to that point right there, and suddenly it just becomes flour and fluff. I made that comparison, and I want you to know that is analogous to me listening to Christianity. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not making light of that. What I'm saying is that it doesn't, there's a point where it sounds like fluff. Like, what are you talking about? How can you make those claims? It goes into a place where you just have to have faith and to plug in something to make your story work. What do we have going on? We are looking for something very specifically, honestly. All of the material is going to bring us to one point. We want to know what that one point is. When we interpret, we keep staying on course for that point. If we find ourselves interpreting off someplace in La La Land to another dimension, or outside of the cosmos, or outside of the known cosmic laws or something like that, I can pretty well say we're probably off course if we're there doing interpretation. That having been said, that is where the outer layer of Christianity takes you, to that place. That is why I struggle with using it, because you have to let go of one thing and make sure to grasp the other. And I've thought about it, though, because I've talked with Christians before that they like this. I think that the thing is this: if you follow what Jesus teaches, if you interpret his teachings, Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain, and you do that, then you're doing what Jesus tells you to do. Beyond that, I think it doesn't matter what you believe. I think you can have faith in Jesus as long as you do what Jesus says, and not just have faith in Jesus and ignore what Jesus says. That's the key right there. But I'm also incredibly aware that there are a lot of people that know what Jesus, we sat through Sunday school, they know what Jesus teaches and the material it is contained in there. And the Romans knew that. I'll save that story for the end as well. I can show you how the Romans know that this teaching is in there and that they tried to circumvent you taking care of it, and they took care of it. They were taking over. I'll show you the pieces to that. Again, end of the video. Okay, anyway, the point is I think there's a lot of people that actually do know what Jesus' material is. If I quote Jesus verses without pulling them out of the Bible, people that were raised in churches know they're familiar with what I'm saying. So it is a good tool to use. It's hard because people from those environments tend to not know the other teachings, and it would take a while to catch on to those. So, so let's figure out then what we're doing. And again, this right here is what you need to do no matter what you are interpreting, whether it's Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever the case may be. We are looking for something that all of the teachings talk about. It can be called nirvana. Lao Tzu didn't really give it a name, but he called it the way, and that we flow in life, in the way, to the quality of what we are up here. So it's not really talking about a mental state of being, but it's talking about changing your life by changing your mental state of being. So that those processes are still there. They're still identical, and they're there even though they're worded differently. Okay, moving along. Yeah, again, we've got Buddha's nirvana. We've got Jesus' kingdom of heaven within. In Jesus' work and in religious work, you're going to find a number of different analogs that are used to carry the same place. What I'm going to suggest, first of all, is we're looking for a mental state of being, that is what that is, and we'll go examine that further. But the kingdom of heaven within is that. But you are also going to hear the kingdom of God, a variety of things like that are all going to be referencing this kingdom up here, that this is the place that is the kingdom, and it can be heaven or hell. Okay. The Jews are going for Canaan, the Holy Land. They're not all getting something like that back. In Greek mythology, they're doing something different. Argonautica, they're going after the Golden Fleece. Roman mythology, they're going after the chalice, the Holy Grail. If you were looking at the Joseph Campbell version of the hero's journey, that would be the returning with the elixir to share. What you're doing is coming back with something that, he saw that was happening there. But ultimately what it is, we're not returning with anything. What we are doing is we're going to get access back to our own pure mental state of being. That is what we're really looking for. There's something that people are going for, but all of those are analogs for something. And what they are, as we play it through, is a state of mind that is free from the past. What is that? What is that mind? What is that mind state we're looking for? Popularly today, it's called like enlightenment or something like that. And that's a more recent term. But I want to understand what that is. And I want to know what I'm looking for so I know how to achieve it. And in this case, I'm going to use my imagination again and go back 2, 3, 4 million years. And I am a creature evolving on this planet with many other creatures. And we are in a system of survival of the fittest. We are eating what we can find and kill, and we are trying to avoid getting eaten by other things. We're part of the food chain. That's going to be stressful. Imagine walking around naked in the land with you're trying to find things on the ground to eat. Oh, there's a bug. I got that one. Big cricket and grasshoppers and spiders, whatever you could eat. You're hunting for food. At the same time, you're constantly under stress from having to avoid becoming lunch for other creatures. This would be life. I don't see Where does enlightenment fit into an evolutionary process back then? I don't see one. But here's what I do see. I see at some point myself sitting on a hill where I can look all around and I see no creatures are after me, and the sun is setting and my belly is full. And for a moment I look and I wonder, and I have no idea what life is for. I don't know what I'm about. I don't know why I'm here. But I see the beauty of the sunset and I am in awe. And at that moment I don't feel like I've got anything haunting me. That's it right there. That's what I'm looking for, that moment of peace where I just feel like nothing's on my back. Nothing's pulling me down. Nothing is coming after me. That's the feeling we live in life when we don't have things resolved, as if something is coming after us, because it is. Although it isn't the creature anymore, it is the things that we hold inside of us. So as we go on in life, I think what we can probably figure out is that place is going to be achievable, but it's not a place that you go to and you just stay there. It's not going to be achievable to that degree. You can get to that point and you can get rid of a lot of things that are haunting you. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have to get up and go to work. You're going to have to hunt and forage or do whatever it is, pay the bills. We still have to live life and do the things that we have to do that are going to cause our attention to be brought out of that. Even if it's not a bad experience, you're not going to be sitting there in awe. You're going to be dealing with the moment and doing things like that. But we can do so with happiness and joy, as opposed to bringing our, all of our angst and our anxiety, the things that fit in society that we are trying to emerge from with us. And I've mentioned the healing thing repetitively because that's such an important component part that gets overlooked. And once that's done, other parts are easier. But the material does more than just help you heal. It also tells you to, live a life in moderation, to not hold on to things, to just relax and be peaceful, to let go of the world. All of those are component parts of the teaching as well. That is how, in my mind, I think, okay, that's what I'm looking for. I don't care what people tell me. That's what I'm looking for. It's not to be a monk. We didn't evolve being monks. We didn't evolve meditating. Those are all good practices, but what are they for? They're to try and get us to that place where we don't feel like something's hunting us down. And we carry that stuff with us, the stuff that hunts us down, unbeknownst to us, is something we carry. Yeah, okay. We're looking for that state of mind. When you're interpreting verse, remember that. If you find yourself floundering, going, what in the heck, and you're all over the place, stop and remember, I'm looking for this state of mind. The verses are all designed to get me there and to warn me of the pitfalls along the way. That's what it's for. Once you know that, you can cheat and know that we know that that's what it's getting to really anyway. It tells us all those things. We just need to put it all together and realize it's a system. It's a process here we're working with. We don't have to just sit back and go, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I hope when I die, something happens, And maybe there will be something beyond, but I don't think we get beyond by just spending now thinking about beyond. Anyway, okay, that's what I was going to say here. As you're interpreting, remember what you're there for. That's why the Christianity one I struggle with, because their purpose is the heaven afterwards. That's what they're looking for in the interpretation. And if you go there in the interpretation, you're going to have to make jumps, leaps. You're going to have to use faith. You're going to have to use supernatural. The only way to avoid that is to call heaven a state of mind that you're trying to achieve right now. And then it also comes online with all of the other teachings as well, simply carrying that in different analogous terminology and whatever suits their people. Earlier on, there wasn't the promise of eternal life. People really didn't have that going on. But as time went on, it became more and more a system of offering more to carry this package. Anyway, okay, that's all I had to say. That'll help you when you're interpreting. Remember what the goal is. find yourself heading somewhere else, just drop what you're doing and let it go. Sometimes you focus and focus and focus on something, and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't even get it anymore. I have felt like my brain is mush. I quit. You take off for a week or two or something like that. You come back, pick it up, and it's like, oh my gosh, what happened is your brain, you're going too fast. Your brain's got a wire sometimes. If you're really into it, but this stuff it's not like you're memorizing this stuff. You're grasping the answers from out there. The stuff is coming in a different place. Yeah, you'll see that. You'll see that as you go. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about how I know that, and I don't know if I said Romans earlier. What I mean is that the Roman Catholics, the Council of Nicaea, whoever was responsible for working on, and I'll leave that alone. Whoever was responsible for the Bible and what was in here knew exactly what was in here and knew that this process of self-healing was in here. And I think that they understood that people were not going to follow it and do it, but they had a couple of things going on that are, okay, back up. First of all, the Romans are building their own stories, their own myths that are carrying this template. So we know that they know this material. However, this comes along and it's not myth, it's religion. It's carrying it, but it's carrying it in a different shell. They know that you're supposed to talk it out. I mentioned in a couple of videos ago and in a few other places where when I was first understanding that I was supposed to communicate this stuff out, that I'd read that Omni magazine, that past life therapy sort of a thing happened. What I didn't mention was that there were two things that I had read at the same time. It was like after I read that magazine, the next day I'm reading the Bible, and what do I find? In James 5, verse 16, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you might be healed. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Confess your faults one to another. They left that in. That's actually a Paul. That's a letter attributed to someone, but that is not a Jesus teaching. That is something that the Roman Catholic Church knew was in this Bible. So I'm seeing right here that they know you're supposed to talk this through to heal. What do? They kind of make sure that, they still take Jesus material and write it into Christianity, which is a carrier vehicle for the teaching, but it's incredibly difficult to extract. The analogs start becoming the church and other things like that. I don't want to mess with that. I know what they're getting at. I don't want to extract it from there, and it would be time consuming. It's like learning a whole new analog system. Well, partially. Some of it all remains the same. They have confessional. Who else has confessional? Come and talk to the priest, talk through the window. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I only know this from movies. I was not Catholic. And you tell them, whatever you did, I got in trouble doing this, doing that. I feel guilty. I did this, I did that. Then the priest gives them some sort of penance to do to absolve themselves from them sins. And the transaction between me and you, I've got something I want to hide. I'm not going to hide it. I'm going to get it out. They're doing the healing on the spot. Probably not really deep, but they're going through the motions of the healing right there. And you know what? You will feel better. Why? You got it out. You got it off your chest. They're giving you an option to heal, using the church to do it. They got this. They know what's going on. You will hear Gnostics tell you that the church took out everything in here that helps you find the way. No, they didn't. Every bit of it's here. They just don't know how to find it. It is there, all of it. And the Roman Catholics, yeah, they knew it. Absolutely, they knew it. They know this process, and they know that the Christian carrier is something that is made up. They know that's a shell. They put the template inside of it. Yeah. Love one another. See you next video.